Welcome back once again to The Outsider's Perspective. My name is Ollie, and here is your loaf of daily bread. Today's loaf comes to us by way of Terence McKenna, who says the following. Part of what psychedelics do is they decondition you from cultural values. This is what makes it such a political hot potato. Since all culture is a kind of con game, the most dangerous candy you can hand out is one that causes people to start questioning the rules of the game. All culture is a con game. This is certainly a valid way of looking at it. It's a con game in that culture convinces us of certain things. Convince is kind of a strong word. What culture does is subliminal. It's subconscious. It's implicit as much as it is explicit, and so maybe the word convince isn't quite right. However you word it, culture inserts certain presuppositions into our minds and into our hearts, and does so in such a way and at such a time that these presuppositions become part of the very foundation upon which our conscious and deliberate opinions stand. So you may be aware of certain conscious, deliberate beliefs that you hold, or certain opinions that you have formed deliberately, but you formed them from a foundation which was chosen for you by culture. And so in this regard, it is a bit of a con game, because you don't really know if the presuppositions that you grew up with are valid or not. And oftentimes you don't even know what the presuppositions are, because they're buried deep. They're at the very bottom. You have to move a lot of furniture to get down there. And so Terence McKenna tells us that the most dangerous candy you can give out in this context is the sort that causes people to question the rules of the game. Why is it so bad to question the rules of culture's con game, you ask? Because the moment you start to pull at that thread, the whole damn thing comes undone. And you realize that there are no rules. That part of the con game is convincing you that there are rules, that you have to dress a certain way, that you have to speak a certain way, that you can't do this, that you should do that. The spoken and unspoken norms and taboos and commandments that come with every single culture or society alive today. This is the con game. And this is why psychedelics and many other things are dangerous and demonized. Now, it should be mentioned that psychedelics are not the only candy to do this. It's not the only way to start questioning the rules. There are other ways to decondition yourself of cultural values. Psychedelics is certainly one of those methods, or at least it can be one of those methods, because I know a lot of people who have done psychedelics and never experienced this deconditioning of values that Terence McKenna talks about. I know a lot of people who do mushrooms recreationally and they never have these realizations or spiritual breakthroughs. So it's not a given. McKenna is talking about doing psychedelics in a very specialized or specific way. He's not talking about dropping some mushrooms on a Saturday night with your buddies. He's talking about using it as medicine. And then, if you do it properly, then you will experience those benefits, the deconditioning of cultural values, the shift in perspective that causes you to question some of those presuppositions that you kind of inherited from your forefathers. But that's just one method. There are many other ways, and they might require a little bit more effort on your part. They might be a little bit more challenging than just eating a mushroom in silent darkness, but they work. Psychedelics did not lead me to my breakthrough. I was completely stone cold sober when I experienced my cubicle epiphany, and also many of the realizations and mystical experiences which have followed since that. So psychedelics are not a prerequisite or a requirement. Practicing mindfulness, practicing metacognition, which is basically just thinking about your thoughts, thinking about the nature of mind. These things create separation and allow us to question the rules of the game. There are so many ways to do it, my friends. You don't have to take 5 dried grams in silent darkness. It's certainly one way to do it, but if you'd rather not take psychedelics, there are other methods. There are other ways. As always, I encourage you all to practice, experiment, try this, and see what happens. And if you're willing, share your results with me in the comments below. Until next time, live well, my friends.